Got it. Try and choose quick time. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. It has a soundtrack, so I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear that, but let's see. Did anyone get any of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. Wonderful day. Wonderful day.
Did you get around everything, or did you make a selection?
I think it's almost impossible to get around everything. What we realized was there's actually there's different trails. So they every year when they commission the work for the triennial, they actually keep a lot of the artwork that they've commissioned. But the policy is that if it's sort of expensive artwork that they need to insure, then they have a 2 in 2 out policy, a little bit like the immigration policy in this country, but not quite. Where basically if they'll choose 2 new artworks that have come in for the year, and then they'll get rid of 2 other artworks. So when you go there, there's like a trail. So this was walk number C, which is a lot of the artwork from the previous years, and then you get a different trail, which is the current one. So there's so much work to see, it's almost impossible. So this is the current trail. So we sort of focused on heading down from the station, and then looking sort of in this main area. But it was really basically around where the best fish and chips were in Folkestone.
Oh, yeah. They're the best fish and chips ever.
Did you try out quite a few then to make that judgment?
I am a connoisseur. I am a connoisseur of fish and chips. I'm sorry. That's the best thing in life. But when you get to the sea, I mean, it's when you get out of Folkestone, it's a bit run down, and it hasn't had the Margate effect, you know. I don't know many famous people who've come out of Folkestone. I mean, it's sleepy and it's run down, and then you head to the harbour, and it gets better and better. And obviously, it's having a bit of a revival, and it's going to be fantastic, I'm sure, because everything was small, accessible, and people were quite nice, and they had some fantastic fish and chip shops, and they seem to have selected some very good artists. I mean, the catalogue we've got is fantastic. And they haven't taught, they had Monster Chetwin, Sarah Trillo, I showed with her last year, and I mean, it was Laura Proust, so they've all got the Turner people in as well. And it's very accessible, and they were very friendly to us. Remember that cinema we went to? I think they called us in, and really, I thought they were fantastic. We should write to them and tell them, really.
Yeah, it's true. And all the people that were facilitating or sitting, sort of being docents on there. So as you were walking around, there'd be people with red shirts or sort of signs so that you could tell that there was an artwork there, because some of them were in the most obscure places.
Yeah, like lampposts that you wouldn't look up. And there was this ship, these ships put on lampposts. Or what about those ceramic works as you entered, and they were on the archway, and you really, blink and you would miss it.
So was there a general theme? Did they have a theme for the
How lies
festival?
the land?
Yeah, it was.
Do you want to talk about it? It was about.
It was all about land and place, and yeah.
And displacement, migration. That's what it was about, and linking it with nature a lot. So that's how the birds. There's a lot of bird things. I mean, my favorite piece was the Laura Proust ceramic work sculpture with a bird mother and father with three heads and a chick on the other side, and it's trying to feed the chick. And I thought that really got me. I mean, out of all of them, but there were so many amazing pieces. That video we saw at the end, there was a video piece in the cinema, and I think it went on for an hour, and we only saw about 20 minutes of it, but it was fantastic. It's they were in a disused radioactive, not radioactive. They were decommissioning the sister one of Chernobyl in Lithuania. So once Chernobyl blew up, they had to get rid of the other one that was built exactly the same as Chernobyl, just in case. So they were decommissioning it, and they took pictures. They're filming the people decommissioning it in their suits and everything, and the effect of the plant on the environment and stuff. So that was really, really good.
There was another really beautiful piece. There's some really nice sound work as well. There was a really lovely piece which was talking about migration and movement, and it was a bird that starts off in Essex and it migrates each year down to South Africa.
The warbler.
And as it migrates through, I think it was something like 27 different countries, it changes its song as it goes. It changes its song just very, very subtly all the way. And so they'd managed to record all the different iterations of the bird song, and then they'd overlaid it with the love songs of that country, often relating to birds or to the idea of birds or birdsong. But it was just a really beautiful way of thinking about migration and the way that we evolve and that we change as we go. And then it was graphically so beautifully illustrated with these sort of maps and colors and things changing as it went. So I can find it. So you found it in this disused sort of concrete bunker. And then when you went in, there was this mapping that went on that so you could follow the bird's migrational journey all the way along. And then you could put the headphones on so you could actually listen to it. And then they'd graphically sort of worked out the bird song as a sort of pictorial representation as it changed. So it was really.
She even had she wore an outfit made from her from the birds' songs.
Oh yeah, there's a picture here.
Did you get the catalogues at the end?
Yeah, we did actually. We bought them at the cinema.
Good. It's good to have that sort of depth about each piece, isn't it? Because the bits that the little plaques of information were sort of compelling with the piece, but it's nice to be able to look. I've had a quick Instagram on a few of the artists, but to get that kind of the depth of understanding of the piece is great.
Do you want to talk about this one, Sally?
Pardon?
Do you want to talk about this Katie Patterson?
Yeah, I haven't got much information on it but I mean, it was absolutely astonishing, wasn't it? Having we walked all the way up from the beach, up the hill, and it's an old. The building is a Napoleonic turret, and inside the artist, I think it was Katie Patterson. Was it Katie Patterson?
Katie Patterson, yeah.
Yeah, and the piece was called Afterlife, and basically she had acquired all of this material from various sources, from scientific sources and all over the place, and made these amulets to represent. I haven't got the chart in front of me, but there were various things she was representing. Was that there was a section about war and a section about other elements. But she'd collected material from space, from all sorts of things. Sorry, my mind's gone blank.
Yeah, let me have a look here because there's so many to look at. There was a Netscape, little tiny mouse, and it was made from eggshell from a giant flightless bird from Madagascar that's now extinct because of human impact. There was another one where she carved this really lovely amulet out of wood, but it was from one of the trees that had survived the Hiroshima blast. space junk. I don't know how she'd managed to get her hands on some of these materials from some of these places that it must have been collected into.
There's a long list, wasn't there, of places that she had donated, and somehow she'd managed to kind of persuade people to donate this material so that she could, sort of repurpose it and make it into something completely different. But it was, there was a most beautiful carved, I think he said it was beech, the guy there, but this sort of counter, that she'd made, and each amulet had its own little dip in which it sat, which is absolutely the right size for the amulet, and the whole piece was absolutely exquisite, wasn't it? Really beautiful. Yes, that's it. Yeah, really beautiful.
So it was just it was just this beautiful room with this incredible setting. So each sort of indentation had been carved, so it was just exactly the right size for the piece.
And the photographs don't actually do it justice, do they? Because even the grain of the wood felt like it was, the shape created was holding each piece.
There were things cut, and it was sort of to do with, I can't remember all the areas, but there was the biosphere, there was things that had come from war. So there was melted down barbed wire fence from one of the wars.
Yes, there was, from was it the Second World War? And yes, the barbed wire fence.
From the D-Day landings or something like that. Yeah. Place and climate. So there was climate change. There were things from the Arctic. And again, this guide was just fantastic at telling and taking us through his favorites. That was the Netsuke mouse from the eggshell from the extinct bird. That was wood from a forest fire, one of the fires recent times. They were so precious, weren't they? But they were, and that was in the war section. I think that was from where the Americans had dumped a lot of waste after World War II in the ocean. So it had actually sort of become these conglomerates of glass and sand and material that it collected.
But some of them were really tiny, weren't they? Had to use the looking glass to sort of have a proper look at them to see any of the detail. It makes you wonder how she managed to make them all with such detail.
This was the space junk one. Yeah, they're extraordinary. Trying to see, we've got photos.
There were some other pieces by in the harbour. I particularly liked the Dorothy Cross's piece, the feet on the
Korean marble.
Yes, the marble, which was sort of activated by the tidal pier. Yeah, that's the one. And the tide, it's on a sort of raised part of the lower pier, so the tide goes completely out, and you can walk around it. But as the tide was coming in, the echo and hearing the water, it kind of gave it a different dimension. And really activated
it, didn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing.
So that's also why you needed these guides, because you sort of be down a pair of stone slippery steps. So that would be your only clue, is that sign at the top, and then you'd have to actually search some of these things out. I think I've probably got some of your favorite bird too, Judd.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love it.
Find it.
That's the one I'll be going around in the midnight to try and get from Folkestone.
When the insurance lapses.
With my balaclava. Oh, isn't it beautiful? Mind you, it's a landscape so much. It's so beautiful. And what you said, isn't it beautiful? I've heard her speak as well, and she's very funny.
And then there was
what was at the end of the tail?
It was a plug, like an electric plug.
I was going to ask, because it looked like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like multiple heads, meaning sort of what's the representation has to their sequence in motion, the logic of video frames where time is stretched and
And
dissected.
then does it have sort of breasts with nipples?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
is that my eyesight?
It does, yeah. It's like a woman, and she's trying to feed the chick. Can you see opposite? There's a little chick, a baby,
Oh, yeah, I
and
haven't
he's trying
spotted
to
that.
feed that, and the baby's asking for food, but they're in two different parts. An hybrid creature. It talks about borders, across borders, that connects landscapes and cultural identities, and three countries closest to the artist's heart, because she's French, but she lives in Britain. And she's Belgian, I think, as well.
She's a really good video artist. I mean, she makes films. She's really amazing. But this work actually got really bad press. I read a review of Folkestone where the fellow liked everything except this piece.
What
So
was
it's
his
interesting to hear that you have a different opinion.
what was his criticism of it, Karen?
Oh, he just thought it was hokey, basically, kind of just a bunch of stuff put together, you know, like the electric plug and the three heads, and didn't really have any meaning. That was the gist of it. But yeah, so it's interesting to hear that you've got a completely different opinion, because she is a really, really good artist.
She's brilliant. She came to the RCN, gave a talk. I mean, she was Turner Prize winner, isn't she? No,
Yeah.
and she was pregnant at the time, so motherhood is very important to her.
Mm.
And maybe that I remember that because she was she made lots of work about being a mum.
Mm.
Any others? What was the other? Oh, the other one I loved was the monkey one.
Oh, sad.
What was that called? Climate Unreal, was it?
Yeah, it's one just before the chip shop.
Just before lunch, I dragged Chud. Like, no, come on, we've got to see one more.
That was your fame. What I can't remember what the sentence was that you said now, Chad, but it was
Enough of the monkey.
yeah.
The monkey.
Enough
Let's
of
go.
the monkey. Let's get the fish and chips or something. It was like
Yeah, because it was so beautiful, wasn't it? It was so poignant, and it was heartbreaking. It was just heartbreaking.
It was, and the video, it was actually a big screen. It was a really amazing screen, so you could see it in bright sunlight. But it was basically this video, like a game. It was sort of like gaming. It was sort of like a combination of gaming, video, and yeah, just sort of high definition video. I don't know how to describe it. How would you describe it? Video rendering. And this monkey was sitting there and he was fascinated by his own image. I'm just trying to find a better one. So as the camera moved around, there was this incredible scene of basically the Amazon rainforest burning, and he was just fascinated by a mobile tablet, and he couldn't take his eyes off this tablet. So he was sitting in a very sort of human way looking over this tablet, and just all you could see was the reflection of his face. He's totally captured by it. So while his environment is burning down around him, he just can't take his eyes off the tablet. It was a really disturbing piece.
very moving, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it signify a shift away from the urban?
A shift away from?
The urban. And the narcissistic and the transgressive.
Yeah, I think so.
Less one-liner narratives and more dense, aphoristic, poetic reflection, but nature rather than the urban. Very quiet, no noisy aesthetic.
I think a lot of this work was really sort of engaged with all sorts of quite heavy topics like ecology and migration and borders and things, but it was done in quite an extraordinary way that I think somebody mentioned. It was really accessible, and it was as art should, I guess, looking at topics that are sometimes difficult to discuss, but actually can be presented in a way that people will look at them.
I mean, there's one we missed, which was the Ministry of Sewers, and we took it seriously, but inside was a piece of artwork, and it looked so serious that we didn't even go in there. We thought it literally was a sewer, and then I read up on it, and it was a piece of artwork about the water system and how the Romans had come to Folkestone. The Folkestone's name, it's a Roman name, and it was about. But we didn't even go in there because it looks so official. Ministry of Sewers. There was a lot of play. It was playful, wasn't it? This biennial. It was very triennial. I think it's so good. It was very playful, and there was something for everyone.
Mm.
And, yeah, it was lots of ways. It was very good. There wasn't a lot, and it wasn't in your face like Margate. But they haven't got a Tate, you see, so they haven't. They're not on the map yet, thank God. What else?
It would be interesting to I don't know how we'd find out, but to find out how the sort of local population, how they view it, because I suspect a lot of people like us go and visit. But I wonder, how many people who live there actually go and explore it. It seems very accessible to us. And being a coastal town, I think, and a lot of the politics that were raised by a lot of the pieces of work, it's kind of quite relevant to a coastal.
Because when I got home, it came on the news that 1,500 people in boats had come over that day because it was really fair weather. Just that day, because it was so calm, and it was so calm, and we could actually see France.
Mm.
I mean, we didn't see any boats, but apparently 1,500 people arrived that day. And but I must say, they've got all the artists have made 5-minute films. It's on YouTube. If you look at the Folkestone Triennial, they come up, and each one they've made a film about what they've created, and it's really good. I thought that's the one. That's why I told Lester, let's go, because yeah, these artists, some of them are superb, and I didn't see the ones I really wanted to see because they were either up a hill or something, or they were like I was shattered by the end of it. I don't know where they were placed, but they were really, really good. I mean, there was one, the signposts were using naval navigation flags. That was, that was sort of, if you didn't know about it, you wouldn't really see it. That's the other one that we saw. And that echo of that the singing.
Oh, the siren song underneath the bridge, that was also beautiful.
Yeah, they really got to you. They're really something. They put them in locations that were really dramatic. Like you're looking out to Dover. Now you're looking out to France, and then and then the waves, and then there's people singing.
And what I loved is all the locations actually really activated the work. So like Sally was talking about, the water washing on the marble, and this, you'd end up with the waves crashing in, sort of interacting with the soundtrack, and the birds one that you said had criticism carrying, they had seagulls on it as well, or part of the baby ones as well. So it was sort of like it was just all activated by its location and its site each time.
Yeah. This and the man in what was his name? Was it one that we saw?
Is it Anthony Gormley's?
Gormley's.
Yes.
You wouldn't even notice that, would you? Because it was just sort of underwater most of the time.
I think that was on the same lower sort of tidal pier. So again, the tide went out enough that you could go and stand next to it, but also when the tide came in, it would virtually disappear. But again, I think, not repeating what Sharon just said, but this sort of how the piece of work changes as the tide comes and goes, and the effect of the positioning of the piece and inside this sort of cavern of stone made quite a difference, I think.
I don't think you were there at the end, Sally, when we were talking to some of the people in the cinema, but they were talking about the creative Folkestone as well, which seemed to somehow sponsor a lot of the artist studios, and I'm not sure how that works. Do you know, Judd, were you part of that conversation?
No, because we want to find out, and they said that they've got loads of studios, affordable studios for artists, and they've got loads of them, which was lovely, I thought. And there did seem to be a hub of artists there, didn't there?
They did.
And maybe they're leaving London and going off to Folkestone. Who knows? I wouldn't mind having a studio there. So there was a lovely atmosphere there.
Even just walking down the old sort of historic high street, there's sort of different, I don't know, vinyl shops, and everything feels very independent and interesting. So
yeah, Starbucks hasn't arrived yet.
What hasn't?
Starbucks.
Gales.
Gales. They've still, I mean, yeah, that it felt very untouched, but that won't be for long. Won't be for long. I feel, and that because I think the artists will bring in people there, and you can see a lot of people were commuting just to see the artwork, and it was very good, superb. I mean, we did see Monster Chetwynd's salamander in the garden. You know that we were coming down that hill. There was a children's playground, and you could see one of the salamanders, and that was Monster Chetwynd's work. So there's some very, they were all Turner Prize winners. They've chosen some very good ones, poignant ones, I felt.
So you're going to go, Zhao, on the weekend?
Yeah,
No,
I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking to go on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and the Karen and the Ring, I think they already respond on our group chats. So, yeah, maybe I make a plan tomorrow and to share with two of them. I just would like to know how long took you to finish all these exhibitions. Is that so many venues, or just how do you find it out,
There's a
the
map.
route of the exhibition?
When you get there, you can find your way to the information, and then you get sort of maps. So you get lots of different maps of the current work, the previous work.
Ah, I see. So it's gonna be like a
Trail.
city walk.
Yeah, the treasure trail.
Okay.
And you won't see everything.
Do you think it's enough for half day? Like,
Yeah, one day's enough.
okay,
Yes.
because I'm thinking to probably we can meet around 12 o'clock. How do you think, Karen?
I think if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll think about it.
Because I think for me it's difficult to be too early, because usually I need to have a video call with my parents.
Oh.
Otherwise, it's going to be too late to call them when I come back. This is nighttime in China. So usually I would call them in the morning to have like a 1 hour conversation. So that's why I suggest probably I could leave at 10 o'clock in the home and probably reach at Folkestone. Is that Folkestone? It's a Folkestone Central Station, or is a Folkestone West? Which one?
Central.
Central. Okay. Thank you.
What time did you go, Sharon?
We arrived at about 10. I think we took a 9-something train. So we arrived at about 10, and Sully left slightly before us. We got about a 4-something train, and we were rushing. We hadn't seen everything, but it was a big day. So 6 hours and you're fairly exhausted.
I see.
But you won't see everything.
Hmm.
So go for as long as you can.
Do you do you highlight something and you recommend we can really go?
Everything we've said.
We need some tips from you to can save our time.
You'll have to watch the video back, because we've just talked about all of the ones we saw.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I missed it. I checked the tickets. There's one from the London Bridge, and I can arrive at Folkestone Central at 11:45, and yeah, it's gonna be 1 hour and a half journey.
That's too long. You can get a faster train, 50-minute train from King's Cross, St. Pancras
Oh,
International.
really?
Yes, much quicker.
Okay, King's Cross even closer to where I live.
Yeah, King's Cross Internationals. It's not the King's Cross main one. It's the St Pancras International.
Okay.
The one
50 minutes. 50.
Yeah, very fast.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and book your tickets. What's the other thing? Yeah, it's superb.
It's southeastern rail line, right?
Yeah.
I saw the one from Training Cross and also Stratford and also London Bridge. Why I didn't see the one from the King's Cross, London Terminal, Folkestone Central?
Do you know who the curator was, Chad, for it?
Yeah, it's in the magazine. It was
Saoirse Carey. Do you know who she is, or does anyone know who she is?
no. Isn't that weird? Yes, I've not heard of her at all. She's not one of the yeah, I've not heard of her. She's very good. Must get in touch with her.
I think I read somewhere that she was also part of the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh yeah, she ran the Edinburgh Festival for a few years.
Did
That's
she?
why. Yes, she did. Yeah, because I was reading up on her because I didn't know who she was. And in the book it tells you that she came with a lot of just I'm looking at the book. And maybe the book is the best thing about it. Well, her name is Saoirse Carey. And is that Saoirse Carey? Yeah, it's Saoirse Carey, and she came from she's Edinburgh. Yeah. And she did lots of things beforehand. But another thing that we didn't see was the which I'd wish I'd, but it was in a shed, and it was a film made about Prospect Cottage, about Derek Jarman's cottage. Somebody made a film about it, and it was in a shed, and we walked past it as well. We all walked past it. We didn't go in and watch the film.
Where was it? Where was it done?
It was near the theatre. It was near that film cinema that we went to. Next to it, there was a little shed that was painted black, and inside a screen, and it had a film made by one of the artists about Prospect Cottage. We missed that.
Is that theatre close to the Mermaid?
No.
Okay,
No.
it's not there. Okay.
It's on the high street. I mean, you can't miss it because there's only two or three main roads, really. It's really tiny. Trying to think. Monster Chuck went Salamander Playground. I'm trying to find it. But we didn't see one of them. We didn't see Ray Yin Song Dynasty. We didn't see that. Don't know where that was. Jennifer's Tea. We didn't see that. Sarah Triller was somewhere else.
What is number of the Yin Song, the Song Dynasty? What the location number is?
I don't know. Let's look on the map. Don't have the map.
You don't have
No,
map.
literally.
Okay.
The map is
Let
somewhere.
me see if I can find online.
Is that Ray Yen Song?
Yes. Folkestone
Kind of up behind the steps where you walk along the beachfront. Maybe we'll send you. We'll send you on a treasure hunt to find all the things we didn't see.
Okay, I think I found the map.
Yeah, then it says Sarah Wood. This is the one that we didn't see on Prospect Derek Jarman's estate is being archived, and she made a film about his house, which we didn't see. That was quite nice. But all the artists have 5-minute video on YouTube. So if you Google them, they come up and they talk about what they've done. Oh, that was quite weird as well. That when there was this thing where you walked in, there was a little facing the sea, and there's people outside, and when you went in, you got these sort of like weird things going on.
Let me grab a. That was weird because it was sort of positive and negative.
Yeah, you got yeah, it was positive, negative,
I think
but also
so. I don't have an overview of the bigger thing, but it was on the piano. This was it looking from the outside, and then when you looked inside,
This is interesting.
yeah, very interesting that.
I don't have
It's
any.
What's it made of?
It must have been fiberglass.
some sort of
Okay.
yeah fiberglass resin sort of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's a fiberglass and the stand with colors.
But on the inside, you sort of had the negative space of the bodies, and then you had the positive of the faces. So it was just, it sort of flipped it. I don't have an image of the shape, but it was a very strange visual when you went inside. It was very disturbing, actually. So what sort of looked like a piece of play equipment was just a bit unnerving when you went inside.
And who's the artist? Sorry,
Yeah.
I've forgotten.
His name is Prabhakar Pashput. What it's about immigration. It's about projects have an idea history of unearthing and the contradiction between mining and cultural exploration.
Okay.
So,
Mm.
cylindrical tower offer a symbol of hope and possible revolution of change. Collective memories. So they're quite scary inside. What's the other thing that I saw? Oh, so that was really worth seeing, I think, in a way. Yeah. What about that horrible, that really scary one that we went into and it was pitch black?
Oh, I'm just finding an image, actually.
Oh my God, that was so scary. Rubian Maya, In Search of Darkness.
This is what you saw when you first opened the door.
It was so scary.
What is
Clay,
made from?
I think clay beads. It might have even been flint. I'm not sure.
It looks like the the masking ball I made in my work.
Yeah, it's an impetus creator artwork was the discovery of the bones of Folkestone's patron saint. The imagined dialogue between these remains and those of an Anglo-Saxon woman unearthed at Dover Hill, and the fossilized bones of elephant and hippopotamuses excavated in the Vale. So, long time ago, millions of years ago, there used to be hippos there. These relic presences, both human and more than human, have become potent metaphors within my creative process. Yeah, it was really dark in there and really scary.
We actually couldn't see to negotiate at all inside the room. And this was on the floor. There was a projection on the floor, wasn't there? And you had they had to tell us there was one other person in there when we went in. And I think I bumped into them or bumped into Jaja, I can't remember. But it was really disorientating and almost, yeah, a little bit unsafe in a way.
What it is?
Unsafe. It felt dangerous that you couldn't
The
see
image.
No,
Yeah.
the space itself that you're inside.
Oh, okay.
Ironically, the piece was supposed to be about, or part of the writing was about the fact that it was sort of to treat the darkness as something that we shouldn't fear and that we should feel comfortable with, and a feeling of kind of growth and sort of connect us with the earth and sort of honor what's beneath us. But I think, as the guide said to us as we were going in, I think because it'd been so bright outside, it was such a contrast, it took us a while to kind of adjust to how dark it was. It was really disconcerting. I wonder whether if we'd spent longer in there, we would have kind of got a bit more used to it and kind of then, I don't know, whether it would have had a different effect on us.
I think so.
I think we were also hungry and the fish and chip shop was around the corner, so we were
Didn't help.
we had somewhere else to be.
Okay, shall we talk about this? The fish and chip shop then.
So we Googled the best fish and chips, and then we asked everyone which is the best fish and chip shop in Folkestone, and they pointed us to this one, and it was very good. As good as Bibendum.
Best the fish chips.
Yeah.
And we had, well, I think, I don't know, I think the mini size, the mini fillet was as big as the big fillet.
It didn't seem very mini, did it?
Wasn't very mini at all. And Lester tried to go upmarket there and have salt and pepper squid or something.
Oh yeah.
But I think he should have had the fish and chips as well.
Yeah.
I think that face is a regretful face. He's regretting his decision.
I mean, it was really, there were some really lovely restaurants around there, wasn't there?
There was, yeah, there really were.
I would really, yeah, I'm definitely going back. Probably, that beach was lovely.
Mm.
There's a mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cornelia Parker's commission work.
Was it Cornelia Parker?
Yes, and this is a real figure from Folkestone. She owns a souvenir shop.
Does she?
Yes. And now she is selling the mermaid, the poster card.
Oh, I didn't know that. We didn't know that.
No. So it was part of the triennial back when Cornelia Parker made a piece?
I think it's not part of a triennial. It's just like a kind of cultural events back to 2012 or 2014. It's like a Folkestone. There's one year, I don't know if you remember, the Folkestone, they kind of promote the cultural festival or something like that. So that's why the local authority invited Cornelia Parker to do this commission work. And she came out with the idea to found, the real person as a model of this mermaid. So yeah, you can find on the YouTube have some documentary about this mermaid.
I'm just reading in past, because it's been since 2008. It says artists commissioned across past editions include, as you say, Cornelia Parker, Christian Boltanski, Jeremy Dalla, Christine Iglesias, Martin Creed, Mark Wallinger, Richard Wilson,
Big names.
Goldsworthy, A.K. Dolphin. So they're all great names.
Yeah.
Yeah, and together they've helped position Folkestone firmly on the international art map. Hmm. Hi, Claire.
Hi, how you doing?
We're just talking about Folkestone. What was your favorite piece?
I think the video at the very end in that art center, apart from, I mean, the art center itself was a great place to show a film. It had a huge screen and then had like a pool underneath it, but obviously it was a rectangle sort of mirror effect, so that added to the whole dimension of the film. And then a couple of objects in front of us, but there was large concrete, like there were plinths, but used most probably in part, not as part of the film, but in connection to the film, because it was all about the taking down of the nuclear power station. Yeah, and then there's a big film on the right hand side. Sound was really good and just very relaxed atmosphere to watch a great film.
Oh,
So
lovely.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, if you wanna show a film, that's a place to definitely pitch
Yeah.
for. Yeah, definitely.
And it was really good to be sitting there on the end of the day.
Yeah, a tired feet. So yeah, we did it the right way around, I think.
Have you gone to Folkestone in the past, Jonathan? Have you been to the past exhibitions?
I've not been.
Not been? No, I haven't either.
I've been once. That was back to 2017 or 18, I think. It was terrible frozen.
Oh, really cold.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, coming in
And
from
my
sea.
phone shut it down.
Those coastal towns got very run down and they're being rejuvenated by art in a way.
Mm.
And also property prices have been so high in London that all the artists are now moving into places that, would never have gone to, like Ramsgate and, Folkestone and what's in New Haven, because it's cheaper than living in London now. People just sold up and left.
Yeah, it did look like there was we walked past some studio spaces, didn't we?
Lots, yeah.
They seem to have put an awful lot of money into the arts down there. And it had a really good feel to the whole town.
Mm.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, everything is walkable. I mean, it's accessible, I felt. And it was nice, and they seemed like they had lovely coffee shops, and there are lovely little shops to go in, the interesting shops. They were all sort of privately owned, I think. There weren't any big chains.
Yeah, and there was people in them as well, so that was good to see. Not just empty coffee shops.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot going for it. It's where the shuttle goes through, isn't it? I think I mean, it'll get bigger. This Folkestone Triennial will get bigger and bigger. You just know it will, because it was curation, everything was done really well.
They just need more money to cover the insurance so they can keep the artworks in place.
That's true. It is, yeah.
Well, there's good things and bad things about it, though, aren't there? I mean, it is a bit bringing capitalism, the sort of capitalism part of art, the idea of money and sort of regenerating, but also taking over in a way. I think we've had these discussions before about London, about how artists move in, which is good in a way, but then old neighborhoods kind of die, and because they go up, yeah, and then the money moves in.
Yeah, and then buildings get built up. I mean, we should learn from that. I mean, what I found was really, really good for us was that, yeah, we went to see some art, but then we also saw the local people that, you could see they come from maybe competitive schools or whatever, and they just didn't look like I had been between them. So it took you out of your London environment into another environment, which was, and then you see the cost of living, that I think that's good for us all to see and to recognize. And that was actually one of the conversations we had when crossing the zebra crossing. So yeah, gentrify areas. I think this is always going to happen. There's always going to be a builder that's always planning to redo a shopping center or housing. And art, yeah, increases that. Yeah, but we should learn things as we go along from what mistakes that we've made from before, I think.
Good to keep it in mind, but hard to find a solution.
Yeah.
Artists are just going where something's an inexpensive place.
That model started in New York in the loft spaces and shifted to London when the Docklands came available, and then went east, Shoreditch and so forth.
Yeah.
So that model sort of is retained.
It's always going to happen, though. I mean, I think artists are responsible for making spaces, and regardless of where we congregate, we will always make something nicer when we leave it than when we've arrived. I think. I just.
I don't know about nicer. I don't know, Sharon. I don't
What's
know.
your studio like, Judd?
I think it can go either way. There's some artists who haven't left things as the better, and I don't know who they are, but sometimes they haven't. They haven't. They've really abused the people that they've studied or used. They've exploited people. There've been harsh artists as well. We think of people building it up, but there's people who've gone into communities and have made films about them and really exploited people. I mean, it can work both ways. I think, as Jonathan said, the model came from capitalist, America, that artists can change Greenwich Village, change a whole whole area. But I think it depends on the type of artists they're looking for. And
I think there is also a way though to bring the community in. I think, you know,
you do that.
The artists bring, you know, follow the cheap space and the opportunity to have a studio or to build a community. But then in an ideal world, you include the local community, you don't exclude it. You kind of try and pull it together before the big money follows. I mean, there surely must be a way of doing that. Because we're not separate, are we? You know, you land in a community and we don't need to sort of separate ourselves off. We should sort of be more inclusive, which is what I was sort of talking about with Folkestone, in that idea that it's regenerating, and it's you know, I went, I think 15 years ago, and it was a totally different place to the one it is now. But as long as some of those artist studios are for the artists already living in Folkestone, as well as the people who are moving down from London, and a way where the community is built from both halves, because you know, Folkestone must be full of people who've studied art, maybe in the local tech college, or maybe, you know, they haven't been to the RCA, or they haven't, but they're still studying, they're still arts, and they still want to learn. They just haven't necessarily been able to access the things that can be accessed in London. So I think the regeneration is great, but we just have to be really careful, and there must be a way that we can kind of make sure these communities are being built inclusively, rather than, you know, second homers. And like the piece that's in the harbour, the two houses in the I think it's Richard somebody, whose pieces are floating in the
lovely
photograph in front of them, and he talks about the second the housing crisis, and the fact that you know, so many people can afford, or a certain number of people can afford second homes, whilst some people can't afford any home. And he's sort of playing with this precarity of these houses in these precarious positions, these second homes and things. But I think it's something it's sort of so obvious, yet no one seems to kind of get hold of it and try and sort of dig into it and bring the two separate communities together.
I think it's really hard to get to grips with, because it seems like such a successful model, and so driven by this capitalist side of art, which, you know, we can't help anyway. But I suppose it is really important to be mindful of the local communities and what is actually being done in these places, because art can be, I mean, it's sometimes I feel like there's like this busyness to it, like this busy bee. You have to keep doing things, and you have to keep engaging with festivals and exhibitions. But again, that's, you know, in part driven by the importance of art, but it's also driven by capitalist, you know, the capitalist outcome. So yeah, I suppose I'm just...
It's also being relevant. I mean, I've got a show on in October, and I'm just packaging everything up, and DHL is coming for it. And they've asked me for all these write-ups and everything. And this group has really helped to think about writing and making art and discussing things, or if I'm stuck, you know, seeing what people and visiting. If you're not relevant to the age you're living in, and I know that Jonathan used to talk about being contemporary. If you're not, you lose your audience. You need to be on top of what's going on, you know, events and everything in the time you are. And maybe your artwork, whether you want it or not, does reflect what you're doing, you know? I mean, because of the crisis, I mean, when I got home, I was told that 1,500 people came in, and then we've had flags, Union Jacks suddenly appear where I walk my dogs. Somebody's put them up, and we've had 6 Union Jacks come up on that road suddenly overnight. And you know, things have an effect, and it's about using that in your artwork to show. I think you have to be relevant, you know, in your performances or whatever you do, and it all goes into the same melting pot, doesn't it? It sort of opens doors in your mind, seeing all these biennials and triennials. This was a particularly good one because It was in bite-sized pieces. We could take it.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
But it also seemed like it was also, there were lots of topics that would also be addressing local concerns as well. So when you're standing there looking out to sea on a good day, and we could see France, and you're thinking, you know, if I'm having a really not nice time of my life and I'm seeing more and more boats coming across, and however many thousand arrived that day, Chod said, you know, it was addressing those issues as well through the artwork, and raising those discussion topics too, which I think is really important. And I think that's art's job as well.
I know. I mean, that's what I talked about Leicester, actually. I said to Leicester, look at that. And Leicester said, you know, you have to be desperate to go, you know, cross that sea. Look at it. It's so rough. And that was on a quiet day. On a good day, would you just go in there? So, yeah, I mean, it was interesting in lots of ways. But they did it in a nice, friendly, accessible way. It was really nice. And the videos are really good on YouTube. They're really good. I showed with Sarah Trillo last year. So that's why I was drawn to it, because she was really good. And she uses clay from different parts of the world, and she's really into the earth. And so that's what drew me to the biennial, triennial.
Sally, you've had dealings with Richmond Council too, haven't you, on sort of the ideas of regeneration and how you at Rupture can help to contribute to that?
Yes, we're trying to get increasingly involved in the borough, and Orleans House Gallery, which I think you all know is where Kate did a residency last year. We've got to know the arts team there, who are very much part of the council as well, and they're a very sort of progressive art group. I think typically for councils, I think sometimes that, you know, the idea that they have in some of the councils isn't particularly contemporary or forward thinking, but the team that we've worked with and that we see, who we did the festival with, the Arts and Ideas Festival across the borough in June, seem to be very very keen to sort of look at experimental work and to kind of stretch the kind of the general public's understanding of what art can be and what it can look like. But I've had lots of conversations with the director particularly about Richmond town centre, because I don't know whether how well people know Richmond, but it's always been a very wealthy area, and it used to be full of very expensive shops and restaurants and galleries. And in the last 10 years, the high street, like many high streets, has really deteriorated because of the changes to retail, but also you know, the business rates are so high, and it seems to be something that the art side of the council can't influence. So the business rates have been sort of pushing all of these retail units out. And we've talked about whether there's a way we can get, you know, surely that some of these empty buildings would be ripe for studio space and bringing artists in for this exact sort of thing, because there's already a lot of money there. So you wouldn't necessarily be regenerating in the way that we've just talked about. It would be just actually investing in the high street and bringing artists into a place that they could bring a different sort of type of culture, I guess, or a different exposure to art. So it's not the typical high street, you know, sort of commercial galleries like Clarendon Fine Art and Whitewall Fine Art, and, you know, where everybody's spending thousands of pounds buying that sort of art. There could be another offering as well. But the difficulty is so many of the properties are owned by offshore companies that people can't seem to trace them and track them down. And they'd rather have the properties empty than having them rented out to artists or anybody else. So I think Richmond can't be the only place this is happening. So I don't know, Einad, how do you, you know, if the councils can't track them down, I don't know how can you find out who, as artists. I mean, we have the same thing with Hampton Wick High Street. There are a lot of empty units, and we've talked before about sort of finding owners and saying, well, maybe we could, you know, we'll just put something in.
That could be a piece of artwork, Sarah.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's like when Kate first took over the Rupture space, but Kate managed to find the landlord, and because the landlord's a local guy who wanted art in the shop window, he was really pleased about that. But as soon as you take out the sort of individual landlords and you've got these or the offshore companies or what have you, they're just not interested, and they'd rather have these shop fronts empty. So yeah, I don't know whether that's what you meant, Sharon, but it's kind of, there's lots of interesting conversation going on. But it's, and Richmond is a very we're very fortunate because they are a very pro sort of experimental and contemporary work that, you know, they'd be happy for all sorts of things to be brought in that aren't retail units, that aren't about commodification and product, that actually are about conversation and an engagement with the community. But all these spaces are just sitting empty, so we just have to keep on. But yeah, don't know how you solve that. It's a bigger political problem, isn't it?
Well, maybe like they did in Hackney, they just moved in and started to squat the areas, didn't they? That's how things got changed. I mean, not everywhere, but yeah, they did that in Hackney.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore though, because they changed the laws about squatting. And anyway, I think squatting, it was more they could get away with squatting council properties, but squatting privately owned properties was under a different kind of law. Say that would have been difficulties anyway. I think it is a really big political problem though, isn't it? I don't know if activism.
So I've got to leave. I've got to get my tablet, so I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you,
Bye,
Jonathan.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jonathan.
Bye-bye.
Would it be a good way to find out who the landlord is if you do get evicted? You want
Yes, one way, yeah. They'd probably be able to evict you under a false company name anyway or something. I mean, you know, they'd get the best lawyers and they'd probably be able to evict you without you even knowing who they are. So
Yeah.
That's
I think there was a problem though. It was something that you could get a criminal record for squatting a private property. So squatters did avoid private properties. There was something to do with that. But it's all changed now. You can't do it. It can't happen what happened in Hackney.
Yeah, they're very, very secretive because my husband, when my mother-in-law died, looked through and found out that her lease was 1,000 years, and he couldn't understand this lease. This was 1,000 years for her. So he did some research and got hold of the solicitor who was supposed to be the keeper, and then the first thing he said was, "How did you find us?" Really, you know, he said, how did you find us? You know, because it was Lincoln's Inn Yard or something where they're based, but he said, how did you find us? You know, you weren't supposed to find us.
Oh.
It was like 1,000-year lease, so somebody's obviously owns that land on where the house is for 1,000 years more.
Wow.
I mean, this is really like, so it's obviously going to be passed on or something, but you weren't supposed to find them. You were just supposed to accept that, and that's it. Yeah, it's really weird. They're keepers of so much land in Britain. It's another piece of artwork, that one. Are we going to discuss some books, Karen, for the next show?
Now that we've rested up like a tiny bit.
Yeah. So this is I wanted to make an idea of the next one. I'm definitely going to make a hat.
Oh yeah, definitely. There should be. I mean, that
hat book.
A hat book.
Yeah, I'm going to make that.
I was impressed by the books that were made on a more ad hoc basis. Maybe, and I think Chad liked some of those books as well.
Oh, I love them.
Sort of using hand printing in different ways, or yeah. So maybe that could be part of the discussion.
Things from the garden, you know that. I mean, I am going to buy it, but they're quite steep. I mean, they were like 30 to 50 pounds, weren't they? Like with made from things in the garden, sort of fragments.
Yeah. Because there's a group of collectors. I suppose it depends on what kind of thing that you want to make and what the purpose is. But there are a group of collectors that only buy things that are handmade, like hand printed, like Riso or risograph printing, and or hand, these different kinds, but not digitally printed. So there's one fellow who is admiring our book, but he wouldn't buy it because it was digitally printed.
Oh,
I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't heard that before. And he'd set up some kind of a place in Scotland that has a library for these books that are not digitally printed. So yeah. Anyway, but it would be interesting to think about what we could make as a progression. Judd has
yeah.
loads of ideas.
I have ideas. I'm gonna start me off, and then we should all ask people to make a few books, and it'd be good, and then try and come up with something. Next year, have a whole range of books.
Mm. Yeah, we could. The French publisher beside us was interesting, wasn't she, Chad? Where she had a number of books that she'd made for her friends. She'd worked in art galleries before, and she'd decided to do this for a while. And she had all these lovely books. One of the book that Chad showed earlier was an example where
Beautiful.
which she'd made for a friend of hers, where the friend had printed it, like collected receipts and didn't know what to do with them. They had this collection of receipts, so this publisher made this book that that just took I guess they
Oh,
yeah
I mean, it's got
took
lovely
pictures
poem
of
on
each
it.
other. Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful one, and it's got Saint Laurent's, and it says, I put on a dress just to check, and I was stunning, quietly dancing through the outside rain. Somehow I did not come back this time, floating around. Would I have been a woman? I only got to be a girl for a while. Maybe though my skin knows the shape of my bones was made to shiver, it's the only one I kept. What a beautiful boy, I had to put shoes on. Really mad. Really lovely poems as well. That's like these things going on. Really ephemeral.
Mm. So that book has a completely different, purpose or focus than the book that we made. But yeah, it's interesting to think about different things.
Ours should be at the Serpentine. Definitely. ISBN number. Definitely. It's really good. Superb. Just I think it just needs more promotion, and maybe a show to show it off as well with artwork.
Yeah, it would
With
be
video.
great to have a show that develops from the book. That would be fantastic.
Oh, it'd be really good.
Mm. Yeah, the book looks beautiful. Could look a bit more to getting an ISBN number.
Well, Chad, I think you've got to start us all off making more books, because what I noticed was everyone's table had piles of varying books, different sizes, some quite
Yeah.
tiny little squares, and ours was pretty much the only one which had one book.
Yeah.
And I think if we had to show ourselves off at a book fair, I think we need more than one, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I
And
think the writing.
that way we would attract people.
Yeah, and also maybe hats. We could all wear hats, and maybe also writing workshops really helped as well. Get in there to mix it with the images.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have to be high tech printing. It could be lino cuts or whatever, photocopies. I mean, I was quite shocked really that they were using photocopies to make books with. It's like it was low tech, but it was really beautiful, stunning. We should go into it and see, have sort of deadlines of sharing books. But it's just we don't meet enough to do a workshop or anything. I don't know.
There's nothing to stop us publishing our own books, though. And then to Yasmin's point, what you could do is have a table where we just all have our own artist book on the table, and then when people come along, they've got a collection of Wild Parlour books for the Wild Parlour artists that have all made.
Yeah, that's really good. It gets us talking about things anyway. That's really good.
I think the other thing I noticed at the book fair was the quality of a lot of the other books. Because they didn't use digital printing techniques. It had far more of I'm trying to think of a description, more not authentic, but sort of not quite handmade, but almost like
rawness,
or sort of artisan or something similar to that, which unfortunately with digital printing, it's more standard, it's more commercial, it's got a luster to it. But when it sits beside, especially the French lady's table, where she had a variety of books, and people think, oh, these are just photocopies, but they're not. They're absolutely beautifully put together.
Yeah, I like the long one. I'm going to buy that long one. Yeah, just extend it out.
Yeah, I mean, she knew what she was doing in her printing techniques. So Chad, you've got to learn about printing now. Hand printing, letterpress.
I'm not letterpress. I did printmaking at the RCA, but we were lino cuts and etching and all that old-fashioned 500, 600-year-old technology. And I like the book you bought, the one with the printed where the ink had seeped out, and you bought a very old sort of unusual book.
I did.
Karen, you bought it.
Yeah, there's one book he was printing mostly in black and white, but he's printing it on newspaper stock, and and it was by the newspaper club. The newspaper club is the press, and he printed it, so it's mostly black and white sort of texture. I think it was I know the one you're thinking about. It's the one he took photographs of graffiti, and so mostly the walls look black and white, or the surfaces that were graffiti look kind of black and white or single tone, and then the color of the paint that really popped, and he just take a fragment of it, so it was somehow sort of framed by black and white, and it was really almost luminous the way it was printed. So I just thought it was really beautiful. He's made these images, which, grotty walls here and there he found. He made them into something really beautiful. But again, it was really like as simply printed. His table was full of books that were quite small and pamphlet-like and quite simply printed. I think it's not that I'm aspiring to make books like that or for the group, but I just think I think it might be interesting to try and do a group workshop sometime where we just, even if we don't make anything, that we just sort of bring some examples and think about what the next steps might be towards making another book, which may or may not be digitally printed. I don't mean to sound like I'm against digitally printing it, but something it's you to bring the rawness in, that's all.
Yeah, it's a different quality.
Yeah, but the upstairs, like we were in the stage area that where the smaller publishers and sort of artists and more ad hoc, I suppose, books were. And upstairs in the galleries, they had the bigger galleries and publishers like Matt's gallery, and they did have tables of digitally published printed books. So it's not it's not that it's something that we shouldn't do. It's just something that we could maybe problematize a little bit more or think about, or think about a way to bring this sort of rawness in that was so attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're also sort of straddling two different things. I mean, ours almost was presented almost as a journal, I think. So it was almost like a group contribution, a publication that came together with all sorts of parameters that we set, that was to explore a topic. And an artist book isn't necessarily always working with those same parameters. So the notion that you're talking about, where things are very raw and it's almost an extension of a space, or it's a whole other medium inside our practice that we push in a certain way, that unfolds in a certain way, or you can wear it, or it's exploring an idea of receipts or whatever it is, that's very individualistic. And so I think we'd have to think about, if we were going to appear again at the ICA, how we would do that and how would work best for each of us. Because I think this was a great experiment. But yeah, would we want to repeat something similar, or do we want to start to explore books? Because I mean, last week we were talking with Jonathan about this notion of publishing still holding a very interesting and independent space that we could move into as artists to explore ideas away from commerciality and all sorts of things. And it's still very available to use when gallery systems are collapsing and everything else. So I think it's a very powerful medium to use, but the question is, how is it best to use it, and how is it best to explore?
Yeah, I think we need to maybe bring that to the group and try and have a discussion about it, because it's a long way off before the next glue.
When was the last, when you applied, Karen, when was it that you applied, that we'd have to have some sort of an outline, a proposal? Was it the beginning of the year or?
No, it was in the spring.
Spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so kind of getting the feeling that we should look thinking about all doing one individual book. So, but is that how everyone's thinking? And then there'll be,
listen, we can all be in charge of one, or an edition of 1 or 10 books. We can all try and make a book and then make an edition of them and see how we go from there. Really, it'd be nice to see what we all come out with. I mean, it could still be the same theme about to be a human, I am a human or whatever, but explore that through a book.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good, because you'd have so many variations of that.
Yeah, and it could be as anything you want, from, if you're going to make an edition, then you obviously has to have some sort of proof. But yeah, it's up to you really. So we can open that debate up and talk about it.
I think that's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, and also the Serpentine Gallery has they stock a lot of artists' books, don't they? They used to anyway, because I used to buy a lot of them. They were really good. I mean, they were really interesting.
Yeah, and then when you're talking about an ISBN number, I mean, you can apply for sort of an ISBN number that would be for the Wild Parlour group, of which then ISBN numbers all fall.
I can't hear Sharon.
Underneath the idea of the banner of Wild Parlour.
Yeah, that could be a press, Wild Parlour Press. You could be running a press house. That's how it starts, isn't it? You're giving them something that they haven't got. But yeah, the competition seemed quite fierce actually. In there, if you were trying to flog it, the competition was quite fierce. I felt there were quite competitive people. They had the gear on. Everything was put beautifully done. It was just absolutely beautiful, and the music, the look. They're really trying to say something. It was great.
Yeah, and then if you did make a book and it sold, even if you sold 5, you can then think about making more for just to have them for sale when you do your own exhibitions, so it's not just maybe for that glue book fair. It could be, extend your own practice.
Exactly, and you could sell it on you know, I know you could sell it on your website or whatever else, but there's a way of sort of self-funding that you could actually use to make the next one.
What about I mean, the next time that we definitely meet up is the Christmas do. So whether we actually bring ideas to that one while we're there or together, the Christmas dinner.
Where is it going to be, Sharon?
I don't know yet. Depends on how many people are coming.
Okay, but you'll have to put a call out because usually you have to reserve quite early.
Yeah,
that's true.
Can I
I've got a date.
Can I just go back to what you were saying about the ISBN number sharing? Because I actually had my sound cut out and I couldn't hear what you were saying. You were talking about a group having an ISBN number, or
just that if you're a publishing house, you tend to apply for an ISBN number, from what I understand. And then your ISBN number then sits as an umbrella over all the other ISBN numbers that would fall underneath it. That's what I understand. There's a cost involved.
yeah, I think it's £90 to apply for an ISBN number, but I haven't looked into all the bits and pieces. I was interested in because I thought it'd be cool to give it to the British Library, but you need an ISBN number for that, and then people could reference it if they wanted to.
You then also have to pay for, I think, an ISBN image as well. I'm not sure.
In what? In
image to actually print.
Oh, image.
I think it doesn't just finish at 90, but I might be wrong.
I don't know. I just looked it up. But,
feel free to investigate.
ISBN image. What is that? What do you?
I don't know. I mean, have a look and see. I just briefly looked, so have a look and let us know what you think.
Okay.
Going back to the actual book that we made, I don't know whether this is an idea, but I actually thought that it should go in an envelope. Not like an envelope, but like a flat sausage. Get my meaning? So it's like so it was like, because they sort of curled up, didn't they? And packaging wise, and and they sit in your bookshelf. You won't have to crease them, and just give it a good finish. But that's something that we could play around with or look into.
Yeah, they tended to all have covers, didn't they? The ones that were selling.
Yeah, a hardback. I mean, that's one thing I did bring up in the talk. Well, we were talking all together, is that like a picture frame. Picture frame was invented initially to protect the painting, and the same with the book cover was to protect the text. So you strip that back, and you've got a very soft cover. You're going to get it creased up, and it kind of does a little curl. So I just thought a little, not like a standard envelope that you get through the letterbox, but like a little, like a little where you can just an oval. I don't know what you would call them. So you could just slip it in, and then the pack really easy in the boxes, but anyway, that's a thing we could think about.
Can you make us one, Claire?
Yeah, I can do. I mean, I just thought it could be just something of brown paper with one of our stickers on or something like that, or I don't know, just something really very, very simple, or it could be transparent. But yeah, just say like, yeah. So there's what I'm saying is an envelope. Just flatten that, and then put your book into there. So like but maybe a little bit of an arch to it, so that when it sits on its own, it's actually quite proud. So it had to be quite a much thicker card, or same sort of thickness as the card of the front of the cover. It's just then it's kind of bound. I think that would give it a really special look. But then that could be for an exhibition. Do you know that's something that could be thought of, and I'll quite happily make them.
You mentioned a sticker.
Yeah, because I mean,
so then it brings up, sorry, interrupting you there, Claire, but
Yeah.
it brings up the issue that if we're going to explore this avenue, we need to get ourselves a good logo,
Okay.
because that's what we need to stick with. So like shops do branding, you need a good brand, and that's what becomes recognizable. So we're talking about the World Parlour.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an interesting topic to bring up to the group and see what ideas there are.
Would
It could
would
be a
Jonathan want to
stamp,
have Jonathan mostly want to have a big part in that, or do you think he would?
I think he needs to know about it, and obviously if he's got issues, he can raise them straight away.
Yeah.
We obviously need to ask him if we can do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, we went ahead with this book and put the World Parlour on it. So we've been a little bit
Adventurous.
presumptuous.
Yeah.
I
But I
think
think he's pleased about that anyway. So.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think we talked about us sort of being belonging to the group and how the group began. So I think we weren't necessarily speaking out of turn. So I think we're okay with that.
Yeah. But I think it's really important to establish a brand name or a logo, a recognizable stamp.
Yeah. It could be just like a brush stroke. It doesn't have to be very design led, you know, very arty, I think, if anything. But you know, that we can just keep thinking about it, see if any
Yeah.
ideas come up.
Yeah. I think it would be an interesting topic to have, to see how people identify.
Well, maybe we could all just bring something to that dinner then at because even if 10 people bring stuff together, and it's not a case that we all choose one particular one, but it might be a combination of all of them. Ideas anyway.
Hmm.
Yeah, sure.
What would be great too is to work out how we can sell the rest of the books that are sitting in your flat, Claire, or house, so that we can have some money to actually print these stickers or make the covers or do whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that. What are we going to do with those? How many extra books do you have, Claire? Do you know?
I didn't count them, but so the boxes are, you know, the standard box, I'd say it's halfway left. We've got halfway left. Karen wants another 2.
So hang on. I think
I don't know who had the list at the was it you, Karen, that had the last list of sales?
We had 32 books there, and we sold 8. So that's 24 books. And Karen, you're going to take another 2.
Yeah, I should I didn't want to pre-order in case we needed the books for something, but because
So we've got 22 books, and then if because we did talk about, and I don't know whether this is the way we should go, that if we had books left over, everyone would get an extra one. So if 22 minus 15, then we've got 7 spare books to take. Chud, you mentioned the Serpentine Gallery.
Definitely,
Bookshop.
and the RCA library will have one.
Do they need an ISB though number? I had imagined so. Most libraries will.
I'm sure the RCA library would take it. These
Yeah, they keep.
dissertations, they wouldn't have had an ISBN number.
I don't know who runs that library anymore. Somebody, something Neil something ran it years ago. I remember him showing me the archive, and he says when people do an interesting catalogue or a book, we keep it in here. And he actually showed me where they were all kept.
Wow.
And I thought, I want one day to be in there.
Well, we need to inquire.
Yeah, I've forgotten his name. I know he lives in Putney because I keep seeing him. Something like Neil Parkinson or something. He's been there years.
So that would give us 7 books to take around.
Maybe if we've only got 7 left, we should hang on to them. So if we do a show,
Yeah.
because they are about the topic of, the theme of I Am Human, but also a lot of it's about practice and our individual practices. And I think if we do a show, I don't know what the next sort of plan is, but if we were to do a show, to actually have the book to actually reference, but also to sell as well. I think it's more likely to sell in that environment.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Stage trying to put it into a bookshop somewhere or trying to get someone else to do it. I think it would work better at the moment with our own work and our practice.
Yeah.
And then if we're working on it, moving the book idea further, then think about the whole sort of thing, not only the individual books and what we want in it, but then where's it going to end up, and what else do we need to think about? What's its destination?
Yeah,
because part of the planning process. But these seem so sort of they're so beautiful, and so it's a collective, it's a collective piece of work, but very individual, our individual practices. But I think it would really sort of support that. Staying close to our work is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, go around in circles. I don't know how anybody else feels, but for me, I think it would be quite nice to be part of a show.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Sure.
So, which then leads me to another question, because everything we're talking about, we need to invest in. And what sort of profit did we make out of this book venture?
I need to do the final numbers on that. So I just needed to actually know how many books were left. I can make the calculation. But what I do know was that the books cost us more to produce than they did that we sold them for. So I think they're coming in ultimately with the costs at around about £50 and 5 pence or 7 pence or something like that. And we were selling them for 15. But because we had pre-sold a certain number of them, we had the cash flow to be able to print them. So we will end up with, I don't know, it's a question of whether we've got money in the bank or books in the bank. So it'll be close. But I can make that calculation.
There isn't a sort of, there isn't something that we could say that could be a fund for the next venture.
The question, if we do that, is who holds the money and a responsibility to that. So we have to decide as a group. Part of me just thinks it's easier to refund the money back and for everyone to have had a lovely experience doing it. And then the next time when we ask, everyone will put back in again. So we have to decide,
I think legally that sounds a lot better, because we don't want to get into a situation where suddenly somebody says, oh, you have to pay tax on top of this because you're a group, you're not registered, you're not a charitable group. There's all sorts of problems could arrive.
I don't think you'd be earning enough money to, well, there isn't earnings at the moment anyway, because
no, but like Sharon was saying, who would hold that money? Then somebody would say, oh well, we'll form a wild parlour group pot.
And
then you need to register.
So we might get different people from the group joining in with each project. So it's probably better to keep it contained so this is the end of this project in its current.
And I like Sharon's idea. If there's anything, just give it back.
Give it back, and then we start afresh. And I think part of that initial discussion is, why are we making the books? Are they for profit or are they not? Are they something? Again, I think that's a conversation to be had with the whole group, because it's what goes into the book might be very different on that basis. Because if we're doing it to make money, then that changes. From my mind, that changes it. So we have to sort of think about the whole project, the project as a whole. Why are we doing it? What are we doing it for?
I found that the value of the book for me in making it, writing it, and was far more important to and being part of the group as well than if you gave me £10 back. I just like, well, you keep put it back into the group. I know also in COVID I actually we had to set up a group because and that was within Central St. Martin, so we actually had to get a bank account, and to get that bank account we had to have a constitution, so then we had to have a chairman, treasurer, and third. You know, so we had to, and then that was a load of meetings.
No, we don't want to do that.
We've still
Our
got the
group is
bank
too
account.
fluid, really.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, there's that, and then I had another group that I set up, and we actually did apply with the local work with the local council, and applied for funding from the Arts Council, and did get it, and that was 10 grand. So a big chunk went into this group's account and then went straight out because it went to the council because they were the ones spending the money. No, yeah, I never thought about tax or anything like that. So no one's ever said anything. I just think it's so minimal that they just wouldn't even bother.
It is. I think at the moment the money's sitting in, I mean, there's probably like 23 quid sitting in my account, and I need Karen to tell me how much is sitting exactly in her account after the fair minus her expenses. And then I just think it's kind of not, it's just, it would be neater to tie it all up and just sit back.
I agree with that.
And there were people who actually didn't take part in the project, and some that they couldn't afford it, and they decided that it wasn't going to be their priority for now. So what would have been really lovely is to say to them, and I tried, but maybe it's lucky they didn't stay involved, because maybe it did cost them more than I thought. But what I really wanted to be able to say at the end of the project was, artists deserve to be paid for their work, and thank you so much for investing upfront. We printed the book, here's your copy, and actually here's 30 quid back. So, you know, here's your money back and a little bit, just to say thank you and for your contribution, even though it's a nominal amount. We, as you say, Claire, we learned so much, and it was such a lovely experience. And just to neatly sort of tie it all up with a bow and hand it back, with the hope that the next time we did something similar, people would also have had a good experience and want to be involved again.
Yeah. I take it everyone was happy with the printed version of the book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would definitely be part of it again. I think the whole thing was a wonderful experience, and you know, I think Yasmin, you went above and beyond in every respect.
Well, you don't have to say that.
No, I don't. I know I don't have to say it, but I'm saying it because I know, you know, I'm sure I only know part of how much work you did, and to do that on a voluntary basis for a group, you know, I really appreciate it, because I could not have delivered something like that on my own.
I think my scariest moment was having to press the button to print all the copies and thinking, my God, it's just me looking at it. Have I got it right? Yes. And I was really scared at that point.
It wasn't you going on the Northern Line with 660 quid in your pocket, was it?
No, that was a cinch.
That would have been mine.
No. But although when I did take the cash out in £20 notes, I sat in the bank and counted it 3 times before I left the bank.
Oh, well done. Yeah, well done. You done. I mean, there was just so many aspects to it. It wasn't just the layout, was it? It was the whole.
No, it wasn't just the
A, B, C, and D. You know.
No.
Whole...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, a lot of
maybe
patience.
this idea of more individual books would be kind of a sharing of the load a bit more.
Yeah.
In some way.
I think maybe everyone should have a go at making it themselves, so they can then impart exactly what they want with it. Because I felt with some images, I didn't know the artist, and I would have wanted to enhance their images so they came out stronger, but I had no dialogue with them, so I didn't touch their images. Because you know how you can change the quality. Karen, you would know about this.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, because I didn't have the dialogue, so we certainly didn't have the time for those dialogues. Whereas if every person gets together their version of the book, then they can understand and relate to exactly what they're after to be shown on the page. I think it's a really useful exercise. It's like doing a piece of art.
Do you see them as then bringing the books together somehow, or like is the each individual book a kind of a gesture, or
Chad was talking about wanting to make a hat. That's something she would have to do. It couldn't be sort of digitally produced.
No.
Because she would have exactly her knowledge of how she wanted it to appear. I'm just using that as an example, and other people might have things which they want folded and maybe a type of origami, or I don't know. So I think everyone should go through that process of making how they want to see a book. Everyone's got a very different idea. When I say a book, they might think a small square item, which is very thick, so maybe it's going to have card. I don't know.
And I think
But
it
I think
pertains to their practice and their what their message is, right? And so then you're exploring different, as you are with any medium, you're exploring the limitations and then how it can communicate or help you to communicate even stronger what your concept is.
Because I remember when we were initially talking about the ideas of the book, Karen, you brought out this amazing cover which had a cutout in it. Do you remember that? The cover of the book had a sort of curvy shaped cutout.
Was it the example that I brought to Sharon's?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. I'm just using that as an example of how somebody would envisage their book. That that there could be cutouts in it or something.
Well, I know that if we all made books, they would all look different. But no, I was just thinking about Sally's idea that or a suggestion that we have to decide what the books are for, that we should think about what I know that everybody would have a different output, but then what do we do with those?
Well, it's like,
would everybody make one too? I mean, like, how many people would actually make one in the end? I'm just wondering. And just
I think going along with Sally's idea of a group show, of having the artists having their books there, to test how it sits with the artwork, how it reflects the interpretations, and then taking it forward as a possibly self-publishing. I don't know. I think we have to try these variations out, test them out within the group and see people's reaction.
All I know is that, as to Sally's point, we absolutely exhausted your professional abilities. Yes. No, but honestly, I don't know if anybody quite knows, but if you were doing this for a commercial client,
I would have got paid for it.
How much would you charge a commercial client for the work that you put into making that book? Because you have done that professionally in the past.
I've done it professionally in the past, but I've done it for my own company, so I didn't charge them.
If we were to engage a professional designer on that level to make publication in the way that we've made one now, how?
I don't know. I think it would be, some people would do it on an hourly rate and some people would do it as a lump sum. I don't know. It's always a labor of love with me. You know, you start something, you've got to see it through.
That's nice. I think what Karen was saying was, if we do it again and you have to put on so much time and effort and money.
No, I wouldn't want to put on that much time. It really ate up a lot of time. It'd have to be reduced.
But if you take it as a commission from, that you were paid for that time and it became a job.
I don't want it as a job.
No, I wasn't.
I've come out of that situation.
No,
I haven't envisioned making another book, actually. I'm just trying to get to the idea, get behind, like, you know, get to the bottom of what people are thinking.
yeah, no,
I hadn't thought about making another book.
my question is not to lead you into a trap, Yasmin. My question was, if we were to pay someone else, so not you, but if we were to pay, because I wouldn't ever ask you again to do that, if we were to pay someone else, what kind of cost would we need to look at budgeting?
Honestly, I don't really know.
I'll tell you what.
I'd have to Google it.
Okay.
No, I'll tell you what, Sharon. You know the people that we met, the French girl next door, and the I made Service Point. We could ask some of them, you know, how much they charge to do the layout and stuff.
Or we take the idea to an independent publisher and see if we can get it published.
Yeah.
I think the publisher beside us didn't charge her friends for doing the books. She was doing the books and then she was selling them. That's how it went for her.
That was Yasmin.
But that was her practice. That's her practice. So yeah.
So I mean, she's worth knowing. Getting into war.
Did anyone get her details?
Yeah, I did. I got a card, obviously.
Well,
Yeah,
she
really nice.
would be a good one
good
to
advice.
contact and ask.
Yeah.
You
That's
get
what I
a
thought.
realistic price.
Yeah, I'll put I've got it here. Zines, she's called.
Because she's based in London.
Yeah, she is. She lives in London. And she gave me a sticker.
Yeah.
I got one too.
So just to
She's
wrap
a
this
curator.
conversation up, are we all sort of, shall we put to the people who were in the publication that we are looking to give each one of them another copy back?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
redistribute 15 copies back to each of the contributing artists so they receive 2 books. And then we've got 7 left.
I think that's a nice idea, since we won't be giving them much money back. The fact that we give them another copy, I think that's important. Would you agree?
No, I kind of feel that they should be kept for if we did a show, and then you've got a good stack of publications. Otherwise, you're just going to have 7 on a table.
Well,
Why don't we ask the people who contributed to see whether they see it as a one-off project, or whether they see it as something that, you know, do they want to be part of a show? You know, I think the thing with we've already talked about is this group kind of changes because this project, a number of us were involved. If we have a show at some stage, will it be a different group, a bigger group, or a smaller group, or, you know, it's going to keep flexing, isn't it? Whatever we do.
I think that's very true, Sally.
We have to kind of think, I think we have to keep it sort of more project-based, and each time we do a project, consult those people who are part of that project. You'll probably find that most of the people who've say, yes, actually great, hang on to them, because we've already paid for it. And I think realistically, how many people were actually expecting to get much back, because it's experimental, you don't know. We were never going to sell out quite, you know, in that way. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be, I don't mean to sound pessimistic. It may have happened.
No, not at all.
I don't think anybody went into it thinking, great, I'm going to get most of my money back, and a copy. Most of us went into it thinking, great, this is fantastic, let's try it, let's see what happens. And actually I can afford that, and I've paid that to see what happens. So I'd have thought consulting the group who were involved and reaching a consensus as to whether we hang on to them or give everybody an extra copy, and then build on that, whether we want to have a show or whether something else. There's another project in the making.
Okay,
so everybody now. Everybody's
no, so maybe I'll liaise with Karen just to finalize the numbers, and then we can put it back to the group, and then we can all decide.
I've said we've sold 8 books. It's not going to change.
And you were taking the payments on a card. Did you take them all on a card machine, Karen?
Yeah, I did.
And what was the percentage? Just remind me.